sort of awakened some of this. They're not registering their children. So how does that then, the child is sort of born outside of that corporate entity, a lot of this doesn't actually apply to them then. There's just like, they're just a free individual on the land.
If you don't have a bank card, how are you going to do banking?
Well, people are still doing that, just individuals that have not been registered since birth. And so that when they go into court, it's been seen like they can't see them. They're invisible inside there because they don't.
If you don't have a bank card, how are you going to do banking?
Create your own bank.
And that's exactly the key. You have to register your child. You can either let Vital Statistics do it, or in Ontario, you can either let Vital Statistics do it, or you can go down to the land registry and do it yourself. And it depends on who's giving up the deed. Are you giving it, or are you giving public notice of it? Are you giving away the deed, or are you giving public notice?
There is no deed. No registration, no deed.
Well, you asked me a question, and the answer was, if you want a bank, go put notice in that there's a vessel here. Don't give the vessel to the Queen, just put notice that there is a vessel.
Oh, okay.
Now you got a bank. Now you can draw funds, because that vessel is registered not to the Queen, but by the Queen. It's registered to you having possession of that vessel, and the Queen has been given notice of it. And that's under the Registry Act in Ontario. I don't know.
Down south, we have the District of Columbia, and in Canada we have British Columbia. Is there any connection between those two Columbias?
I think they sound the same, and they might even be spelled the same.
But no other connection beside that?
I'm not sure. I haven't actually looked that deep into it. I only spent a few minutes looking at this stuff. I haven't seen that. I think there's a whole secret society reason to that, but I don't know anymore. I was going to suggest that if some of the chiefs that are here wanted to say hello, they're certainly welcome to, I guess. If that's okay with you.
I just wanted to thank him for this presentation. I think it's enlightening to kind of know some of the facts. We always come in grace for whatever we do, no matter whether it's in Her Majesty's courts for her subjects, which is eloquently explained over here. A lot of you know this particular flag here. What do you call that? Okay, the proper way for the flag is this way. As long as the sun shines and the rivers flow and the green grass grows, the Indians are always my allies as long as they continue to occupy the land. One of my elders is here, can explain it just really briefly, so that when you're dealing with issues related to Her Majesty's allies, you are all regarded as her subjects. We are regarded as the allies. And in the Royal Proclamation of 1763, Her Majesty stated that if any of my subjects create any harm to you, my allies, it would be as if you committed treason against me, and I will send out the military to seek you out upon pain of death. So as a result of that, we don't say that, but that's what we advise the court process when we go into the court. All too often, it's been a learning curve for the justice of the domestic courts of Canada, which are in the filing cabinet. They can only deal with domestic problems related to Canada and all Her Majesty's subjects, the birth certificates, which are in the filing cabinets over here. And the 60-40 agreement, in a nutshell, we're not going to take too much time up with this, but it's important to really know this and what you think is the land of British Columbia. For British Columbia, when they formed the corporation in 1901, here they tried to usurp the authority of the sovereigns given by Queen Anne's Order in Council, identifying that the Indians will forever own the land, and reaffirmed again in the Royal Proclamation again, and then also in 1835. And Naquala, the chief that was given to Naquala up here, was given the Peace Medallion of Treaty of Peace, because we're in grace together, working together in grace, not as adversaries. So Her Majesty bestowed upon my relative here and the hereditary chief for the Okanagan people medallions from 1763, which he still has in his possession, and also this particular flag here, identifying that about what this process actually means in relation to a covenant. And therefore, we don't need a lot of the passports that are required here in relation to passing from one port to another within a corporation. So if I may just take just a few minutes, my relative Sumstula is going to address this, because it gets addressed in different areas where Indians are always deemed to be Indians when they're really not. That's a European term. There is no Indians whatsoever. There's only Sukanagans and there's Wipstachen. That is a European term given when some of the status Indians became status Indians and became subjects of Her Majesty and entered onto the Canadian pirate ship called the Admiralty Court, and by mistake got themselves and became status Indians, and therefore they became a body politic, and therefore forever lost their ability to even exercise any hunting or fishing on the land because they forgot who they were. But the Creator gave all of us equally, the black, the white, the yellow, and the red, this land and Mother Earth to reside on equally together. So for that purpose, I believe that's what we should do with one another, is to respect one another in that way. But every so often, we come forward to remind the corporate bodies for the provinces or the states, excuse me, you overstepped your boundaries. I conditionally accept your presumed jurisdiction upon proof of claim that you do have it, and I hope that you have a covenant that supersedes your queens. And then they're probably in jail for 14 years or forever. So, Ksimtula. This information about the law of the flag is really good to know, and that way you call us as your allies because we are relatives. It's just somewhere along the line people forgot that and took a look at body politic to supersede the fact that we are all one in this universe in the eyes of the Almighty Creator we call Small Aggie.
Yeah. Can you guys come this way a little bit? Sure. The reason this is important, just if I can preface this a little bit, when these guys are part of the corporation, they get their status card, they move in through citizenship and immigration. They have to immigrate into the they have to immigrate to the ship. That's why they sit on a ship. I mean, citizenship or something. So this is important because down here the rules are different because there's a Commonwealth, or what do you guys call it? There's a country or a nation underneath the fiction.
A bunch of loud people.
Over here, there is nothing under this except for these guys. This is why this is very important to why a lot of things don't work here or work differently here. This is very important for most of you to, you know, so I hope that it's helpful.
Speak up.
Aka pixel quelstum. Aka is naxel holai kapapna la is so heplas is kalkeluchtet. Ala kuleut ne aip. Ut kuchtem it's rochkein. Ja is gestaltet. Kom neemt het goed als met een been. Uslap nou ko ala kutske wil. I just want to let know my brothers and sisters that are in here that I spoke in the language because we are neither history nor we are past. What the very things that we're talking about here today was oral, what we are speaking, because all of these things from the tradition that what we were brought into this land, we were caretakers, and what we speak was a spoken word from that day forth, even though it's called recognized as 1763. We are still here today, and the only difference between the government's jurisdiction and the native people, they are caretakers of this land, and it's based on a covenant